This is The Roadmap with Lee Heisman.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Roadmap, exclusively here on ASBN.com. I'm Lee Heisman, and every week we bring you some of the brightest entrepreneurs, CEOs, and business owners who are climbing the ladder, scaling their businesses, and thinking one day how to exit stage left. Guys, we have a special guest today, all the way in from New York City, Bianca D'Alessio. Bianca, thanks for joining the show.
Thanks for having me.
Guys, she is the founder and CEO of the Masters Division here at Net Seekers International, but also the star, and we're going to talk about it, of Selling the Hamptons.
Well, what an introduction.
Well, but what a guest. And you know, guys, we had just come from the Cliffco event, and
Yes.
you know, we're bringing all the Cliffco guests in here. Let's take a step back, because you're out of New York City. You're out of the hub of real estate.
Yes.
Talk about how you even got into real estate.
Oh, wow. It's a while ago now. So I grew up, my family was developers. So I was always had a fascination with real estate development, but didn't exactly know what that path looked like for me, and definitely did not want to follow into the family footsteps. I wanted to do it on my own and build my own thing. So after a year in the non-for-profit space, I got my real estate license, came back to New York City, and was just trying to figure it out. Got started at a real estate brokerage. The first year was brutal. As any new entrepreneur and business owner knows, it's really hard to make money in the beginning.
Is that why it was brutal? Was it brutal because it's New York City? Is it brutal because you're not making any money?
You make no money. So we'll talk about what you need to prepare for if you're going to go into the world of real estate sales. But you make no money. It's incredibly competitive. And at a very young age, I just lacked the confidence. And in order to be a phenomenal salesperson, you have to have confidence.
So what transition, how did that happen? How many years did you put in before you felt the confidence? When did you really get that paradigm shift of success?
So I would say it was the first 6 months, I felt like I was kind of a fish out of water. What I committed to myself, and I learned this in business school, was first one in, last one out. And I employed that every single day to make sure that even if I had no business, I was there before anyone else got there, and I left later than anyone else because I wanted people to see my face. And I just started offering my help for free. So the first year I just worked for everyone for free. But what I did is I learned everything. I learned so much. So it really took me 18 months, really at that 24-month mark, where I felt like I had my sea legs underneath me and enough confidence to go out there, start procuring my own business, and where I started building that momentum.
So talk about the transition of, okay, you're an agent, you're doing all the right things. And a lot of, you know, I'm going to have to look at the audience here and talk about this. Listen to the pro here. First one in, last one out, getting your sea legs and not expecting any results for 24 months. Most people in today's world, they want that immediate gratification. Oh, whoa, kismet. Instant gratification. Well done. Yes. So true. So talk about this transition when you said, okay, I'm doing this now, but I want to open up my own business. And then I want to get into the Masters Division, of course, of Net Seekers International.
So I first have to stop you and say, I never wanted to open my own business. I ended up in this path from a number of relationships that just didn't work. And I realized, you know what, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it the right way. I'm going to do it my way. And I want to build a business based on culture. So that was never the end goal. The end goal was just, let's figure out one step at a time. Let's trust the process of life, because it throws you so many curveballs. And the only way to get better is to commit yourself to a growth mindset and constantly learning. And through constant learning and pivoting and moving and taking advantage of, saying yes to opportunities when they were in front of me, that's where I got to where I am, you know.
Wow. Oh my gosh. All right. But so, like I said earlier, I can introduce you and probably just walk off set here because you are amazing. So go into the specifics, though, about how you opened up your own firm. When was the right time for you? And we'll talk later about advice for other entrepreneurs and real estate agents. But for you, when did you feel was the right time, and how did you go about doing it?
It was scary. Prior to doing my own thing, I had partners in a relationship that it just didn't work out. Really, it wasn't a difference in business opinion. It was a difference in leadership opinion. And at that point in time, it was coming out of the pandemic. I was realizing, one, I had my own book of business to support branching out on my own and doing my own thing. So I had that level of comfort. I also knew during that transition I would lose business, because anytime you make a pivot or a change, you have to be prepared that you're going to shed a little business, but it will create opportunity and create that moment of growth for the new clients that will come into your life. So I knew that I had the business to support taking a step away financially, that I was going to be okay. But really what it was for me was that I wanted to create something that felt more of a legacy and a culture in an industry that it's very, very solo agent, singularly focused, and you're operating on your own. I've always been a team player. I don't want to do anything on my own. I feed off of energy from other people. And that's where the brand and the company, the Masters Division, came from.
So yeah, go into the brand because, it's been a little bit of a tongue twister for
Yes.
me because it is I'm never going to forget it anymore, ever again. The Masters Divisions and Net Seekers International.
Yes.
Talk about that.
So Net Seekers International is the brokerage. It's one of the major brokerages in the world. We're privately owned and internationally spanning across 55 different global locations.
Wow.
The Masters Division is a company within that brokerage. And we have been able as a team, because of the umbrella brand and brokerage we sit under, to transact and to operate internationally as well, which is a really unique value proposition in the real estate space.
So talk about that. And again, very ignorant. I've seen TV shows, and we're going to get into one as well that you're the star of. But does that mean you can sell international properties, or you can sell to international people? How does that work?
All.
Check box
Check
D.
both boxes.
All of the above.
So I was always selling to international clients. What I've picked up in the past 18 months is I have a knack in the development space. Because of our office locations and our global teams and our local teams globally, I've been able to now actually transact in various global markets. So right now I'm building a villa development in the Azores. I'm working on the St. Regis in Mexico, selling out about 100 units that they have, apartment units that they have there. We're working on a few other projects throughout Mexico, throughout Portugal, in London. We've expanded into Asia. So it's been a really unique opportunity.
And I want to talk about specialty. You talked about your family in the development space, which you didn't want to follow in their footsteps.
Yes.
But it sounds like it's a little bit in the blood here because you're touching base back into that, kind of circling back. Is that accurate?
It is accurate. I think there was a pride of me when I was young and starting in the industry of wanting to make it on my own and figure it out. What I've also realized is when you have something that's inherent and core to you and a unique skill set, sometimes you just can't fight it, just double down and dive all in and just figure out how to put your own spin on it. So I'm very happy that it all came around full circle. There's one other thing that I want to bring up with the Masters Division component of our name and where we got to there. When you look at a lot of the major teams and brokerage teams and major brokers throughout the world, most of their teams are built around their principal partner as a team name. That everyone works for one person, building their brand. What was really important to me when being culture forward is I wanted to create an opportunity for every agent and every person who came on my team to be able to build their own unique brand within the collective success of the company that we've built, while at the same time having fluidity throughout their real estate career and never specializing in one sector of the market. So whether it be from a first-time renter to a $40 million transaction in the Hamptons and every single thing in between, our team does all of it and any of it. We're incredibly diversified. And by building this brand, I've created that confidence within the agents to know that they could have that and they have the support behind them and they'll never be pigeonholed to just building up my brand. It is their brand and their business.
So you didn't name it D'Alessio.
No.
Not at all. You actually named it the Masters Division.
Yes.
So you made this brand transcend across all your employees.
It needed to be bigger than myself.
Wow. Well, I gotta look back at our audience. So first off, I'm telling you, sometimes, people are not in the moment. I'm thoroughly enjoying this. Selfishly, I just want to say I've thoroughly enjoying the time with you, and I'm learning so much about that. And for entrepreneurs out there that want their name on everything, it's not a marketable brand if it's just your name because everybody looks at you. You've really set this up correctly from the beginning.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh. So talk a little bit, we're going to transition about leveraging and into marketing, which is kind of an expertise. And, I've sat at arm's length from you for the past year plus at our Clifco events, and a shout out to Cliff Oxford, of course, from Clifco. And you've always been humble. Your reputation precedes you, but listening to you this way, I'm learning so much.
Thank you.
Go into your marketing. And again, congrats on being the star of the season. Now, season 2 that's come out.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about that. Talk about the show and how that even happened. And talk about how that has leveraged your marketing of your business.
Absolutely. So I was approached to be on the show right after the pandemic. A lot of my business had shifted from being purely New York City focused to my clients started moving to the Hamptons. So I started transacting more in the Hamptons. I was actually the last person cast on the show. They were very particularly looking for a strong female character. Enter Bianca.
We need to zoom in on that. Would you mind? If you don't mind, I'm going to interrupt you. So that is your camera. You need to look in there. If you don't mind, would you enter Bianca again?
Yes, you've
real
got
quick
it.
Into the camera. Go for it.
Enter Bianca.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And I was very, very uncomfortable about it in the beginning. First of all, at that point in my life, I had a lot going on personally that I was embarrassed to put out there to the world. I felt vulnerable, and I felt honestly, and I know a lot of entrepreneurs can identify and understand this, I had imposter syndrome. I was very, very young. My team had grown much faster than I ever anticipated it, and I was coming into my power and was nervous to put all of that out there for the rest of the world to see and create an opportunity for holes to be poked. So I had to do some soul searching, but eventually I got to the point of, I will regret this if I say no. It's scary saying yes. I will also have regret saying no. And the biggest thing in life I never want to have is regret. So I rather make myself vulnerable, which we talked about earlier today. Say yes and do it and figure it out later.
Oh my gosh. You know, if I wasn't happily married, you're potentially my spirit animal, because I've said for soon to be 53 years, all of my actions are done to avoid regret. Those are tremendously powerful words you're giving to our audience today.
Thank you. Thank you. We could have a whole other session on regret. We won't go there.
We could.
And so I started filming on the show. I learned a lot during the filming process.
Give some secrets about the show and what's a reality show? Is it really reality? Is it scripted? How does that work?
So I remember showing up to my first day on set, and I was like, okay, what are we talking about? They're like, real estate. I'm like, do I have a script? Like, where do we start the scene? They're like, no, you're just going to sit in the office. You're going to talk about your job. And I'm like, that's it? I was like, I think I could do that. But what I learned throughout that, so interesting facts, we filmed about 10 to 12 hours a day for about 4 months for season 1.
Oh my gosh.
So managing that while also being in the hyper growth stage of my business, it was fully 2 around-the-clock jobs, managing my team back in New York, being in the Hamptons, filming, managing clients, and also not letting anyone know that I was filming because I didn't want them to think that I was distracted.
But did you have to get authorization when you're in the middle of work, and if they're filming you, do you have to get your clients to sign off on authorization to be on a call with them?
So a lot of it, whoever was filmed was all the paperwork was signed off on. But a lot of times I said, okay, we need to pause this. I need to answer this email. I need to do this. Like I need a minute in between. But it takes about 4 to 5 hours of filming time to get about 15 minutes of TV time, which is crazy.
That's crazy.
But being able to actually, everything I do in life, I think, what can I learn from? And watching have the privilege of being on a set that HBO is creating a TV show and learning about camera angles and learning about video production, learning about editing, learning about storytelling and storylining. I'm a marketer first and foremost. And so the invaluable knowledge that I got from a production standpoint to bring back into my real estate business, to bring back into my marketing business, it's led me into really securing myself as and leverage, having a strong foothold within the press and real estate press in New York City, being a trusted source to come to about market data. And that's created tremendous business opportunity for me. That's led to me getting on stage and public speaking internationally. And it's building the building blocks of how do you leverage and how do you grow and how do you utilize your trained and learned skill set from one area to pivot into the next.
So you just did, as you said, you had a launch party for season 2.
Yes.
How did that go about where you guys were granted a second season? Some things don't even make it half a season, let alone a second season coming up.
It was a huge, huge honor to have that season 2 because season 1 really felt like a trial period. Like anything you do, you're not usually good at things the first time around.
Fair.
Going into season 2, knowing, okay, this is how we film and this is to make sure it's not scripted, but you need to tell a a viewer sitting on their couch a story in real time. And you're filming all of this, but you have to truncate it into such a short period to make sure that they understand what's actually happening in a negotiation. A negotiation actually takes months and months, and contract signing takes a very long time. I do think that's a little bit of my gripe with real estate reality TV, and the perception to the audience is everything looks like it happens in 1 minute.
Sure.
It doesn't. But making sure that all of that was properly communicated while at the same time creating a fun show for people to want to watch.
So that leverage you've done it marketing wise, it's helped. It kind of works. It's commingled with your business.
It's all commingled. Everything's commingled.
Talk about the next phase, which is a book.
Yes.
A podcast. Let's keep adding on to this. Because first off, I don't listen to many podcasts. I'm going to start listening to yours.
Okay, good.
Because I'm, again, thoroughly enjoying this time. So talk about that to the audience.
Everything, I think from the show, the biggest thing that came first was the social media. And through social media, getting my voice with storytelling. And again, how to create short form content and relate to an audience. From there, hearing what people want to hear more from me about. It's allowed me to do longer form, which is public speaking and keynote speaking. But a big thing that came out of that was podcasts and creating a course, both of which I am in the process, which I'm not going to promise a deadline. They're in production.
So the podcast is not out yet?
It is not out yet.
Do you have a name for it?
I'm not going to share it yet, but when I have it, you will be the first to know.
Is it going to be a tongue twister? The Master Division
it is
at
not.
Net Seekers International?
What I am trying to do is to co-brand the podcast, the course, the book, and a few other projects that we're working on to be all under the Master umbrella.
That's really smart.
So it becomes a Master brand.
Seamless. That's very, very nice. Well, as we wrap up, and our time flies when we're having fun, a few quick questions for you. I have a really good friend. He was a guest on the show, Rick Hale. I'll call him out. He has 2,500 real estate agents that work for him. He did over $4 billion of transactions last year. Rick is an expert in your field. Not like you, but an expert in your field. And I asked Rick, when's the best time to buy real estate? And he said there's 2 times that are the best time. Right now and any time in the past. Yeah. Is that true?
I could not agree with that more. It's not about time on the market, it's about time in the market. So you have to get in the market. You can never time any market. You just have to start. It's always going to be scary. Real estate is the biggest purchase for most people. So there's never going to be a right climate. There's a lot going on in the world with interest rates, with pricing, with supply, with inventory, with development. But real estate generally always appreciates. You can never time when you are going to buy. You could always time when you're going to sell in a strong market. So
with your vast entrepreneurial expertise, which I'm still blown away about, give our listeners and viewers, what is the one piece of advice you'd recommend? Number one, if someone wanted to get into the real estate, and then number two, the entrepreneurial world.
Okay. In real estate, I would say for someone entering the market, you're not going to have the answers. Find someone who you respect and you looked up to and work as hard as you can, be a resource and be willing to work for free. You need to have your nest egg set up so you are set up for some sort of success and comfort level. You will not make money in the first 12 to 18 months, maybe 24, not enough to sustain a lifestyle at least. So having that nest egg, but find someone to learn for and just be helpful and resourceful. And put your ego aside.
So what about entrepreneurship? Because you said something that resonated with me, and I've been saying it again for decades. Say yes to as much as you can.
Yes.
Now, and you said it right there. Thank you for that. But what would you say for an entrepreneur, someone, blending and growing a business, not just from real estate, but any type of business, because you've opened up your own?
What I have learned is that you will never have all of the answers. There will always be fires that come up every single day. You just get a little bit better at handling them. And that's okay. You're not supposed to have it all figured out. As long as, and Cliff actually said this to me, we make hundreds of decisions maybe thousands of decisions every single day, but there's going to be 3 or 4 major decisions you make in your business. As long as you get those 3 or 4 right, you're good. The rest don't really matter. It becomes white noise and learning lessons. You just need to nail those 4. And as long as you're leading with authenticity and vulnerability and honesty and having a clear path and confidence in yourself, you will be on the right trajectory.
Well, I know being around you, I'm on the right trajectory. So I can't thank you enough. So again, for our viewers out there,
Yes.
I know your book and your podcast is
Mhm.
not ready. How do they follow you? How do they just find you anywhere? What's the best
I
way?
am far too active on Instagram. So you could stay in touch with me in real time all day at Bianca D'Alessio on Instagram, on LinkedIn, my website, and stay tuned and watch me on HBO selling the Hamptons.
Dude, that's the coolest thing. I mean, it's other than everything you said. Well, the other thing is watch me on HBO.
Yeah,
I
and that one.
that one's really fun as well. Bianca, my gosh, what a treat! What an honor, and to even get to know you more now.
Thank you.
I mean, you're gonna get a big fan now. That's gonna be lingering around too much. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us today. I do hope the show was as insightful for you as it was for me. We hope to see you again next week in another episode of The Roadmap.
Thanks for watching The Roadmap with Lee Heisman.